Welcome to Speak Out Charlotte. I'm your host, Jim Puckett. Thanks for joining us tonight. We get together every Tuesday night to talk with people who are involved in Charlotte-Mecklenburg region to talk about the challenges we have, the opportunities we have, and any general information that we think will make your life and you a better informed person.
Good evening. Welcome to Speak Out Charlotte. Jim Puckett is off tonight. I'm your guest host, Wayne Powers. Awfully glad to have you along for the ride. And speaking of rides, you know, I've lived in Charlotte now for around 20 years, and I've lived here all across the country. I grew up in the suburbs of New York, and one of the things I hated about living in New York, once I learned how to drive at age 16, was the fact that you had to pay tolls to go anywhere. And it seemed that the tolls just never ended. You drive for 10 minutes and there's another toll. And you drive for another 10 minutes, there's another toll. You cross a bridge, there's a toll. You go in a tunnel, there's a toll. You know, and you get to the point where you say, well, these tolls were designed to pay for these roads. How long have these tolls been here, Dad? And Dad would say, since before I was born. So you say, well, haven't they paid for this road yet? And I guess not. The idea is that the tolls in places where they have them are really not fun. They stop you from going often where you want to go. And I've never once in my entire life ever seen a toll go down. Just like taxes. You never see them go down. Just like fees, just like your electric bill, your gas bill. They never seem to go down. And so I don't know what they're paying for tolls on the George Washington Bridge these days, but that bridge was paid for so long ago. And what they want to charge you to go across it today, you say, where is that money going? Well, tonight we have a guest from WidenI-77.org. She's a volunteer with that group, and they are responding to a call now for a toll lane on I-77. And there are a lot of folks who think this is the best way to relieve congestion on I-77. I haven't taken a position on it, but boy, I sure have not been a fan of tolls in the past. So we're going to find out a little bit more tonight from someone who has taken a very strong position on this issue. Her name is Vallee Bubak. Welcome to Speak Out Charlotte, Vallee.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Talk to us about where this toll is projected to actually be enforced on I-77, what part of I-77, and let's start there. Where is this toll going to happen?
It's going to run from Charlotte, from Berkshire, exit 277 up to exit 36. So
from Highway 16, is it? Yeah, Berkshire Boulevard?
Yes.
Up to?
Mooresville, exit 36.
Okay. And they want to organize it how? I mean, what's the idea? Give me a visualization of what they want to happen. It's going to be for I guess, an express lane?
Yes, what they're doing, they're calling it a hot lane, which stands for high occupancy toll lane. And the idea is that they say you have a choice. You don't have to use the hot lane if you don't want to.
Okay,
However,
that sounds good so far.
Doesn't that sound great?
It does.
Unfortunately, there's really not much, not a good choice either way. The reason is it will cost 20 cents to $1 a mile to get in that hot lane. There's two of them. And
how are they going to charge for that? I mean, is there going to be a toll booth?
You'll have a transponder in your car, and it's they call it dynamic pricing. The tolls fluctuate. The more traffic, the higher it costs to ride in that lane, so then it forces the traffic over, so they ratchet up the price. There's no cap as to how high those tolls can go.
Wow.
So they will raise those as there's more traffic in that lane to scoot more people out.
And they have a transponder that you get to put in your car that I guess you have to buy or rent?
Yes. Or in other cities you've had to buy them. They're like $40.
So it's $40. You get a little thing you put in your car, and then I guess they take it out of off your credit card, your debit card?
You give them all of your Social Security, a lot of your private information.
I'm getting scared right away. Okay, first of all, so they're going to be able to not only charge you, debit your credit card or your bank account.
That's right.
They'll have all of your credit information.
Yes.
They will be able to debit your account. Even if somebody steals your car,
that's correct. Well,
they'll be able to debit your account, and your privacy is now gone because they're tracking where you go, when you go, how long it takes you to go, I mean, all of these things that, you know, privacy is a thing of the past. And, you know, the thing about privacy, and I don't want to get off on this issue because I want to talk about the toll lanes, but privacy, the way the privacy laws are set up, you have what they call an expectation of privacy. So that's what everything is based on. When there's an invasion of privacy, you say, well, my privacy is being invaded. Well, the law says, well, what is your expectation of privacy? And what my position has always been on these things is that every time we give a little bit of away, of our privacy away, we then, as a society, have a lower expectation of privacy, so therefore it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that our privacy goes away further and further because invasions of privacy become difficult to enforce because privacy, the expectation has gone down. You know, and that's the traffic cameras, you know, that's all of these things that well, contribute to that.
They'll know what time of day, they'll be tracking what time you leave, when you go to work. You know, if you were late to work, they'll know. And they'll know how many people were in your car, because if you have 3 or more people in your car, you can be in the hot lane free of charge.
I see.
And less
So do you have to give
3,
everybody's social security number? Is this really Big Brother? What is this?
Yeah, the privacy is a big issue. I think that is a big problem with this plan.
So, all right, so you say they will have access to this and they will have access to that. Who is they?
Well, it's a public-private partnership. So it's government in partnership with corporations who will have this information.
And which corporations are these?
Well, there's 4 companies bidding on this project. 3 out of 4 are foreign. And you know, we do a lot of work with foreign companies, so it's not the end of the world. However, the revenues generated are going to a company in another country.
Okay, so let's be clear about this. We're talking about a proposed. Really, it's going forward at pretty much a lightning speed. I mean, it's pretty far along the track already. We're talking about a proposed toll lane on I-77 between like the Mooresville area and Brookshire Boulevard.
Yes.
Going both ways?
Yes.
Okay.
2 lanes in each direction, 1 lane over the causeway in Lake Norman.
Okay. And these lanes will be constructed by a private company or private-public partnership?
Yes.
Who's going to pay for the lanes to be built?
Well, let me back up about the pricing. This is what stood out. First of all, there's a number of aspects with this project that are problematic. The first is back when they realized, obviously, I-77 has needed to be widened. There's no argument about that. It's a parking lot several times a day.
Well, yeah, it is.
You get an accident and you're not going anywhere.
Even without an accident. It is. It's
traffic, morning and evening, afternoon. It can be a nightmare. So no argument there. We need to widen it. However, what they said is, let's instead of just widening the road where it needs to be widened, which would be from exit 23 to 36, between Huntersville and Mooresville. What we need is 1 lane each direction. To do a project in that range, which is general purpose lanes, which are basically, free lanes, would be 80 to 130 million. However, it'd be like if I called up, someone said, hey, can you come plant a petunia for me? They say, I'm in the business of landscaping, but I'll tell you what, I'll bring you some trees and some sod and some shrubs, and then I'll plant that petunia for you, and that'll be worth my time and money to come out there and do the job.
So
that's essentially what happened here.
Well, translate how that
So now,
works.
instead of merely doing an 80 to $130 million project, they're taking it all the way down to Charlotte and saying it's going to be a $550 million project.
But the upside of it is, I want to look at both sides here.
Okay.
The upside of it is taxpayers are not on the hook, correct?
That's not true.
That's not true.
They wrote their own contract with the help of their attorneys. These were not our own attorneys writing the contract.
They is who?
This would be, it was put together by Parsons Brinkerhoff. They have you probably know, they have a reputation.
They have a really bad reputation. The Big Dig?
Yes.
We're talking about projects that have been universally acclaimed as being poorly built, dangerous,
Yes.
Overpriced, not cost effective. They have
Delayed
for years. Yep, you bet. But you're talking about a myriad of problems. Look at the Big Dig. I mean, that's the perfect example of that group.
Perfect example.
All right, so let's. So that's who the they is.
Oh,
there?
here's what happened. So anyway, they want us to spend $170 million of our taxpayer money to essentially buy a $550 million toll road that then we are on the hook. We're in a contractual, arrangement with them for 50 plus years. And then there's no limit.
I mean, as a business, now, again, let's try to look at both sides.
Okay.
As a business, if they're going to build this and you say, they're going to fund it, yes?
They're, $170 million is ours. However, they are adding a bunch of things we don't know. That project includes 9 bridges.
Right, but whatever they build, they are going to pay for, and then their contract goes 50 years so they can recoup their money and make a profit. I mean, that's the idea,
That's the
correct?
idea.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's wrong with that?
What is wrong with that is that we, the taxpayers, we've paid for I-77, and we maintain the right-of-way as well. The right-of-way is that basically, grass area that where we could simply widen the road and widen the highway where we can all use it, and we are not under a contract where we have to buy out the company if we want to get out of the contract. If these hot lanes are also known to increase congestion, so around the country they have not worked. People will take secondary
Where else
roads.
have they, give me an idea so people can look into it, where else have these hot lanes been constructed?
Yes. Well, you can look on the internet, but there are 18 hot lane projects around the United States, and the majority of them are not reaching their financial objectives. What often happens is that the states will end up having to buy them out. An example is the Dulles Greenway. That was built for $315 million. That company, it went bankrupt, it was purchased by somebody else, and then to make a profit they had to increase the tolls exponentially, and then the people said, I'm not going to use that highway. They start taking secondary roads, the neighborhood roads, and now Virginia is looking at having to buy that back for about $1 billion.
Here's another thing I just want to consider, and it's something that concerns me. I'm a limited government guy. I am. I think government is way too deeply involved in our lives. But there are some legitimate functions of government. Security, protection, police protection, fire protection. There's legitimate purposes that we really need to have government to do. Our road system is one of them. Our road system enables you and I and everyone else to get from one place to another, our transportation system, whether it's public transportation or private transportation, our public road system. And our interstate highways, built under the Eisenhower administration, which really tied our country together for the first time back in the 1950s, and as it was constructed through ensuing years, that tied our country together. And that is something that we have all paid for.
That's right.
It is something that we all should have access to. Now, how elitist is it to say that the average guy works in a car wash and is not making a whole lot of money, has got a family, and he's driving to work, and he has to sit in a traffic jam and burn up gasoline when we have another lane right here that he could be using, but he can't because he can't afford the tolls.
Right. That's what bothered me so much. That's why I jumped into this, because just going around my town of Davidson and talking to citizens there who've in some lower income families, and the impact that this would have on really everybody. I mean, you're looking at thousands of dollars in tolls a year. And if it's 27 miles from where, basically it's 27.5 miles, is this project, from Mooresville to Charlotte. And we're looking at it being roughly out the gate $5 one way. So it's $10 a day. That's
plus your gas and the the automobile expenses, however much a mile it is now.
And it will go up and up and up.
Everything
In
that you're paying for,
Colorado, Parsons Brinkerhoff was responsible for a highway there. and we lived there for several years. It got started, it was $8 a round trip. It annoyed me every time I had to go to the airport that I had to pay $8. And my husband just went back there for a business meeting. We got a bill for $18.20. That is for roughly 28 miles. $18.20.
Wow.
So this is the thing, is that they are not under the guidance or authority of a government body. So these corporations, they can charge what they want.
So they're not accountable to anybody.
They're not accountable to anyone. And the goal is to control our mobility. If they can control our mobility, they can control our way of life. They can control if we decide we want to get out of town. If there's, heaven forbid, something happens, there's a terrorist attack and we need to get out of the area, we would have a much harder time if we don't have control over our roads.
And I can't imagine that the average person wants to spend $18 to get from point A to point B that much quicker, which is really probably not that much quicker.
Right.
And so therefore, how does it really relieve congestion? Because it's only a select group, people that can afford it and are willing to pay for it,
That's exactly right.
who can utilize those extra lanes. And the rest of us poor schlubs are sitting back there going, okay, well, it's going to take me an extra 10 minutes,
Yes.
but I'll be darned if I'm going to pay 20 bucks, to drive 18 miles.
Yes.
So,
It increases congestion, and I actually found a document written in 1993, and these are not intended to decrease congestion. They are actually intended to control our mobility, to encourage us to carpool and to use mass transit. And they know that they increase congestion. And there's a document that was written by professors in California. It's congestion pricing, phasing in one lane at a time. And it's about taking control of lanes one at a time, charging people to use those. The problem, and then what they want to do is encourage people to drive certain times a day and not others. Well, how is that going to work out when people have to be at work at 8 in the morning? Not everyone has that flexibility to say,
Correct.
I'll show up at 10. And it's also much more difficult to arrange carpools with 3 or more people versus 2 co-workers, 2 family members can easily drive to Charlotte together for work. So it's a couple of things. It's a plan for corporations to make a boondoggle off of our existing infrastructure, our highways.
Well, they're piggybacking off of something that we've already paid for, basically.
Yeah.
We paid for the basic infrastructure. They're going to piggyback on that, add 2 lanes, and start charging us to use our own roads. Okay. Now, look, I want to be fair. I mean,
Okay,
you know
yes.
where I stand. I don't like tolls. I really don't. But I also, there has to be, you have some very respected public officials, elected officials, and people who are advocating this. And what I am hearing from that side is that we have a real problem on I-77 for at least a portion of what they're talking about building the hot lanes on. And we cannot afford to to expand those lanes in a reasonable amount of time.
They say 20 years.
Right, okay.
That's
so
the magic word they use around the country. That's the
Okay.
sales pitch.
So because we can't afford to build that on our own, because our taxes and our budgets are so tight, and they are everywhere. They certainly are in North Carolina. They are in Charlotte and in Mecklenburg County. You know that. Everybody's fighting that, and we don't want to raise taxes. So this will allow us to have the benefit of extra lanes without imposing it on the taxpayers and without waiting 20 years. And you say what?
That is a sales pitch that is used around the country to every major city that faces some congestion or a lot of congestion. They say it's hot lanes now or nothing for 20 years. And it's just ironic that it's always 20 years wherever you go. And does everyone have the same budget? How ironic.
Right.
And so, that is a little peculiar. But first of all, there is money. They have been diverting our gas tax funds to other projects besides roads. So,
Like what?
Well, it's going towards greenways, bike paths, other.
Now, why should your gasoline tax go to a bike path? I'm not sure what the logic is there, but you would think that we pay a pretty high gasoline tax. If we live in Charlotte, we're a border community, and a lot of people I know, and I can't tell you, I have never done it myself when it's convenient, go across the state line to buy gas right across the state line at a much lower price. It's not that the gas is any less expensive, it's the taxes that are less expensive.
Yeah.
So we already have high taxes in North Carolina, and these monies should be going to maintain and expand and build our road systems.
So, and then if they were to better manage the existing funds, they would have that. Plus, we have McCrory's new transportation plan, and that is based on need. The higher priority is placed on highways that are in urban or more congested areas. So that should put I-77 at the top of the list. And so if we were just to wait a year or two for Governor McCrory's plan to kick in, then we would have the public funding for general purpose lanes in each direction.
Well,
and
we also have a mayor in Charlotte, a former mayor who is the head of transportation secretary in Washington, D.C. right now, and I can't believe that if there was an advocacy on the part of elected officials from both parties in this community to say, Secretary Fox, we need some help here, we need some federal dollars here, I can't believe we wouldn't have his ear.
That's not going to happen, because this is using public-private partnerships with hot lanes is actually part of the Obama administration's plan for mobility. It's called Moving Forward. And there's actually a guidebook by the Federal Highway Administration. You'll find this interestingly, that Parsons Brinkerhoff was one of the authors.
See, you're
of this
scaring
document.
me now, Vallee. You're scaring me.
And so they helped author this document together with those California people professors who said we got to get people off the roads and using mass transit and their bicycles more. So this is part of Obama's plan, but also corporations are taking advantage of this, creating this whole new industry around tolling. And then what's to me even more frightening is that they are going to our government leaders and getting them to buy in and participate in this. To be honest with you, I consider it a fleecing of the public. This is our existing taxpayer roads. They are taking control over those roads, putting tolls on them without a cap as to how high they can go, and then controlling when we drive and whether we sit in traffic. And I'm hearing from people that they say, I won't be able to afford that. I'm going to have to move into Charlotte.
All right. Look, I'm not a black helicopter guy, but I've always been taught to follow the money.
Yes.
So somebody is set to make a huge profit, because you're dealing with a lot of money here.
Right.
How much money are we dealing with?
Well, probably millions and millions, if not billions.
Hundreds of millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Well, easily.
If not, probably could be $1 billion to $2 billion.
Okay. So you're talking about a large amount of money. Now, when there's that large amount of money that is going to be spent or advocating to be spent, somebody's got their fingers in the pie.
Yes.
Who stands to benefit from this?
Okay.
From these hot lanes going through as they are currently being suggested or put forward?
Okay. Well, I don't like to... I want to know the answer. Okay. Well, there have been issues with politicians who have been awarded large campaign contributions from the tolling PACs.
Okay.
Parsons Brinkerhoff has a PAC.
So we can follow the dollars from contributions from Parsons Brinkerhoff,
and there's other tolling operators. And
what are the names of these PACs? Do you know?
Well, I know Parsons Brinkerhoff is one of them, but there's many others. And one of the #1 recipients of toll companies' contributions is Rick Perry, for instance, in Texas. And then the second is Mitch Daniels in Indiana. He did the Indiana Turnpike. And then you have, so it's not just Republicans, you have politicians in California.
Well, this is not a partisan issue. This really isn't.
This goes both ways. It's Democrats and Republicans who are partaking.
You're dealing with the perfect storm of government, big government, which is usually the purview of the Democrats, and big business, which is usually the purview of the Republicans, and they come together, and who gets squeezed in the middle? you, and me.
That's right.
I mean, that's just the way I see it. But so okay. So we need to find out about who's having the political contributions from these PACs, number one, because they're obviously benefiting. What about the right-of-way land? Is there any issues about who owns that land that they're going to be using?
Well, that's ours, and we're essentially leasing it out to them for 50 years to then charge the people. And it's been really upsetting. We've gone and we've talked to first our local leaders. We went to the Speaker of the House, Tom Tillis, and we were, you know, very disappointed in our meeting with him because we had hoped that he would stand up.
What was Speaker Tillis's response to you?
Well, he's been very defensive of this project, and even though the Republican Party had their platform amended to be in opposition to hot lanes and the monitoring of drivers.
I was at that convention.
Okay, yes.
I was there.
And so
I voted.
he was, I was in the executive committee meeting where there was a resolution that also we wanted to have passed, and when it appeared that it was going to pass, we were close to losing quorum, and he got up and he walked out with a couple of others, and it broke quorum.
Obviously, this is not, you know, on his agenda. He's been supporting this. And look, you know, I like Speaker Tillis, and you know, I agree with him on some issues, disagree with him on others. I'm sure he's got a point of view here. I'd like to hear it. Maybe we can invite Speaker Tillis on to give his side of the story. But okay, but we're giving one side of it today.
Sure.
And in all fairness, there is another side to it. But we're almost out of time. I don't know where the time goes, Vallee Bubak, but you're with a group called WidenI77.org, O-R-G.
Yes.
Is it W-I-D-E-N-I? Is there a dash there?
No.
No, just I, the letter I, the number 77.org. People can find out more there. And there's another group called Toll Free North Carolina. Tell us about that quickly. You got 30 seconds.
Okay, tollfreenc.org.
Okay.
We found out this is not just a Charlotte issue. The plan is also to roll out hot lanes around North Carolina.
And they can go to that. It's www.tollfree, TOLLFREENC.org, O-R-G again.
Yes.
And they can find out more information there. When is this going to happen? You got about 10 seconds.
They'll be awarding a contract probably in December.
So we have time.
Yes, we do.
And in that time, you would suggest that people find out more. You know, maybe people are going to disagree with you. They're going to disagree with me. That's certainly possible. And whatever that is, you know, you need to speak your mind, whatever that is, wherever you stand. But I would suggest that you become informed on this issue.
Yes.
And hopefully we've helped you to do that. You can get more. You can get more information at those websites. We're out of time. Wayne Powers with you. Till next time, my friends. I look forward to seeing you again soon.